You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man, and it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm gonna pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you could feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
Beats by CP3. Many can copy us, but none can duplicate us. Beats by CP3.
That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast. Live from the lab. RobbieG, live from the man cave. First day of March, we finally made it through that crazy month of February with ice storms and snow and all of that crazy weather. It's springtime is around the corner and NFL free agency is around the corner. So we're going to have some news and notes talking about a little bit of football, a lot of hockey, and a whole lot of basketball with the Wizards surprising some folks with a 3-2 week. Capitals had a 3-1 week. And we have another great episode in store for you tonight. RobbieG, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited to do this show. I've had a lot of fun on our Facebook page. I'll just give it a quick shout out, facebook.com/sportsothp. We are live streaming a Zoom version of this right now over there. But I've been doing these recaps whenever we win, and I call them Wizards Win Wrap-Up shows for the Wizards. Recap, Wizards Win, and I did 6 of them this week because whenever we won, I went on and I did one of these shows, and people seem to really like them. And so I really appreciate everybody for tuning in and checking this out this week, and a lot of wins to talk about. So it's pretty exciting. 2 weeks in a row, we have 6 wins between the two teams, 3 wins for each team for both weeks. So that's pretty cool. As you said, we'll break down the 4 Caps games with Anna in a few minutes, and then we'll bring the roundtable back in. We got a lot to talk about. Those five Wizards games, including the Lakers game, we kind of started on air, and even though they were losing when we were on air, I said on that show we were going to come back and win that game, and sure enough, we did. And I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning because it went to overtime. We were able to win that game, so we got a lot to break down with that. But exciting.
I was actually watching that game, and then LeBron took over, and it was like a 1-point game, so I turned it off because I felt like I was being a jinx. And then when I flipped to it at the end, I saw that they won, so I was like, I'm not a big NBA fan, so I think I might have threw off the whole curve when I started watching the game or something.
So yeah, no, I appreciate you turning it off because so they were up, and then of course the Lakers come back, and I was like, oh no, and then it goes to overtime. And I'm like, this is where the Lakers just take over. They've got LeBron. It's overtime. It's in their building. And they surprised me. They were able to keep it going and were able to win a difficult overtime game. But we'll break more of that game down as well as the week for the Wizards. And if people want to see Carol's point of view, I know that he's unfortunately still on Facebook jail.
Man,
I know we won't get into too much into that, but you can catch him live on his YouTube channel. So if you go to sports@thsp.com, we have the link to his YouTube channel. Also, I think you're streaming on Periscope. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm still on Periscope. They're switching over to Twitter at the end of the month, so I got to figure out what that transition is going to mean. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm on restriction on Facebook for posts from 2 years ago, and then they just tacked on another 30 days that I can't live stream. So, Robbie, I appreciate you doing all the videos for the page because, normally, I'm trying to keep stuff posting on the page. And unfortunately, since I've been on restriction for seems like forever, I appreciate you sharing all of these great videos and putting other content on the page.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always happy to pick up the slack. But yeah, it's been a crazy week. Let's just talk about a couple of other topics that are off Wizards and Caps just at the very beginning here. I know there's been a lot of talk of the Washington football team. This morning, all the rumors about Alex Smith leaving, it hasn't been finalized to my knowledge yet. But
not official.
Yeah, nothing official, but it looks like it. And Arun is giving me numbers that actually, if we held on to him a little bit longer, we may have been able to actually get more money off the books. But I think they want him off sooner, so that way we can try to bring other people in. So I was seeing a number about how somehow if he stayed on the roster longer, they make more money. Do you ever see any of that numbers?
Well, I know the league year doesn't start, until until the first day of free agency. So they're not going to release him, I don't feel, or I don't think. I have to check on my sources. I haven't had a chance to, talk to anybody today since I was at work. But if they wait till the league year starts, it's going to be, from what I saw, was it 11 million a dead cap space, and because he was supposed to make 24 million, it says it's going to be 11 million a dead cap space and 13 million to get freed up, which would put them at 52 million above the cap. With the cap around 180 is what they're estimating I believe what it is this year. At least that's the numbers that I saw. But I mean,
I'm trying to see if I could pull up if Arun ever answered me, because I wanted him to talk about the cap space. But maybe we'll have him answer that question a little bit later. But it looked like he was saying that it could have been 19 million in cap if they designated him as a June 1 cut. But if they do it earlier, it's 14.7 that they can get back. So,
yeah, you're not going to, basically hold a veteran hostage for a couple of $1 million. That wouldn't be fair to him to go on, to another team and, in free agency when it starts on the 17th, and then holding him till June 1st it would be both. It would be bad for both parties. So they'll probably do that because you've seen them do that before with other veterans to give them a chance to get picked up by another team. If somebody else wants to, take the chance on them, then they're more than welcome to. But I definitely understand the logic behind it. I mean, you're sort of writing on the walls from the supposed interview with the writer that didn't know football and misquoted him, and those comments that was made in the GQ interview to him retracting that, and then stories coming out about some of the things that Coach Rivera said rubbed him the wrong way. So you could pretty much see the writing on the wall. The best thing would have happened if he would have, been in the mindset to retire. Then, it would have been a whole different situation with the cap. It wouldn't have been as hard of a hit because he decided to retire. But, he decided he felt like he can still play this game. But
it's hard to argue comeback player of the year. I mean, how could you say that he couldn't put another year together from what he did?
He could, but we saw with his stretch run, he still couldn't, compete because of the wear and tear on that leg. After 17 surgeries on that leg, he's going to get fatigued, and it's not even going to be injuries. It's just that he's going to be tired, and he's in their eyes, and I believe me and Dujanay spoke on this towards the end of the season, that is he going to be able to play 16 games? And even if he doesn't get injured, the fatigue on that leg, at his age, it's not going to hold up. So the mindset here is we have a young team. That's why they're so far under the cap, because they have a lot of rookies on rookie contracts. And, and Bruce Allen, even though everybody hated him, he fixed a lot of the cap issues that we had while he was here. So we're in a good position. I believe they're the team that has the fourth most money to spend in free agency. And, folks are concerned about the quarterback situation with Alex, getting released. But they're going to have money to throw at another free agent quarterback. It's several that's going to be on the market. There's been a lot of talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I really don't agree with that. But like I said, it's just a rumor at this point. But it's definitely going to be an interesting offseason because now with the culture change, with them winning the division this year, now players are actually going to want to come here. We've heard years and years and years that, players didn't want to come here because of dysfunction and, all the bad press and all the, losing that was going on around here. Now that they see that things have, taken a turn in a better direction, some, players are going to want to come here, and it's not going to be hard to get high quality free agents to help improve the team. Because, even though they won a division, there's still some holes on this team that's going to have to get filled. There's also some question marks on some players that also might get cut. Landon Collins is another player that might be a cap casualty, along with the way Cameron Curl stepped up playing safety once Collins went down with the Achilles injury, and he's on the books, I believe, for $17 million next year. So it's going to be interesting when off season starts on the 17th to see who's going to be a cap casualty and what direction this team is going to go in with that much money to spend. And a lot of talented free agents out there that can fill some holes on this team.
Yeah, especially with the COVID situation, there's a lot of players that are coming off of a lot of teams' books. So you might be able to get somebody on maybe a little bit cheaper deal than you normally would because they're trying to find a place and there's just not a lot of money. We'll actually probably have the most cap space available, surprisingly, or one of the most now with this move. One other little miniature news and note, they did come out and say that they will go by the Washington football team again next year, and they've sort of started the process and explaining the timeline of how they're going to go about the new naming process. How right now there's a fan submission website where you could send artwork and names and stuff, and then they'll sort of weed all that down, and then from that I'm sure there'll be like a vote, and they'll bring the fans in, and they'll sort of narrow it down to whatever the best pick is for the franchise and for the fans. So I think they're probably doing it right, as good as you possibly can. I have no problem with it. I know some people will always be mad that they're no longer the Washington Redskins. I get that to some extent. It is still tough for me. I still sometimes slip up. But at the same time, I think 1 year under this new name and new culture they're trying to grow, we've seen dividends. So for me, I'm going to ride with it, right? So let's see how they continue to grow. And I have faith in this team. I may have not had faith in the team before to do this correctly, but they put the right people in place in management. I really like what Julia's done. She's been great on our show in the past, and I'm excited where the future of this team is.
Yeah, it amazes me how some folks are still very upset about the name change. Like I said, I'm not on Facebook right now, so I've been on Twitter a lot, and folks are still posting about how upset they are that the name has changed and they need to bring it back. And I'm like,
they're not going to go backwards. I don't know who actually thinks that there's any chance that they pick the Redskins to be the next name. You know what I mean? Like there's zero chance.
Folks have to understand change, is going to happen. You have to get used to the change. And, the name was changed before, so, I mean, get over it for real. I mean, when we had Miss Julie Donaldson on, she said that they were going to, try to get fan involvement in the name change, even though we heard that Red Wolves was the leading candidate, but they wanted to get some, the fans involved and make them a part of it too. So that's exactly what they're doing. And yeah, somebody's going to put Redskins on there. And, you already know what's going to happen. So it's going to be interesting how everything goes down. And I don't have a problem with calling the Washington football team on the air. I still call them, the R word when I'm talking to some folks, just talking football. I don't really stress saying Washington football team all the time. So, but on the air, that's what we do to be politically correct. So.
Right. Also, I'll say hi to Mark Moore, who's been tuning in. He says LeBron is not clutch. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I agree. Although I did like what LeBron did with the Lakers last year, but I'm still putting MJ one. But
you could not compare the two different areas of basketball.
I agree. All right, let's not get into that debate. That's going to be a whole different show. All right. All right, but Mark says Washington football team for life, and we need a left tackle and another big receiver. And then Tony says the Caps got to play 60 minutes. They get the lead. They can't take their foot off the pedal. Chara will help them beat Boston. So that's a great segue right there. So I appreciate Mark and Tony for tuning in live. I'm about to actually share this to a bunch of Caps groups. and we'll use that segue to bring Anna in as well. And first of all, Anna, how are you doing? And I'm going to get us to a couple of Caps groups while you give your intro, and then we'll get into hockey talk.
Absolutely. I'm doing great. Been fully vaccinated, and I'm ready to go back to the classroom on March 16th. So March is going to be a big month. Today is my daughter's birthday. My
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Mine's on the 10th. We don't need to talk about numbers and whatnot, but it's all good. And I'm, I think it's been a year of kind of reflection. If you really think about, like I heard the news that I think the first COVID diagnosis was about a year ago, either today or yesterday. And you really think about it, like it's been a year. It's been a year of kind of craziness, but I am so grateful for like this podcast, for you guys, for for sports, and I think that we kind of learned a lot about ourselves, and I'm looking forward to 2021. Just
yeah, it's weird. Liz's birthday, which is the 13th of the month, to me it marks the beginning of this whole thing. We went out to dinner with her, and that was the last time I've gone out to dinner like without masks and all of that since then. So like that is sort of
a
finding point for me. So,
and for us, for the teachers, it was Friday the 13th, which is March Friday the 13th. So it's very bizarre, but I'm kind of feeling wanting to feel optimistic about moving forward. So we'll see. And I'm over the rain.
Yes, I am too.
No, don't get me started.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention before we get started, I just want to do like a quick scheduling update. So we're into March now, which I appreciate and also think is kind of crazy that we're already this far into the year. Although February 7th, like it took forever. But in March, so this is the last season of season 5 of Sports on the Hill last month of season 5 of Sports on the Hill podcast. So on the 3rd week of this month, which is the 15th, if I can do my math, is going to be our 5-year anniversary special, which is kind of cool. And then on the 22nd, we'll have our season 5 finale, which will be the last show that's just hockey and basketball before we get into the baseball season. And then we're going to take the 29th as a week off. It's my spring break. We usually take a week off there. I don't know if that's when your spring break is.
It is, yeah.
That's perfect. And then we'll come back April 5th with the start of season 6 of Sports on the Hill podcast, when we'll bring baseball into the fold. We're still trying to figure out when we'll put baseball versus hockey versus basketball. Carol and I will talk offline about how we're going to juggle all of it. But it's going to be a lot.
It's all good stuff.
Oh, good. I'm excited. Season 5 was the COVID season. It was sort of shortened.
Oh, my God.
But tonight is episode 30. It's been 30 weeks since we've come back from that COVID break. Even a couple more. We missed 1 or 2 weeks off, but it's pretty crazy to think that we're on episode 30. It's been an exciting run, and I'm happy to do these Zoom calls with you. It's something new that we did with season 5, and obviously we'll bring it to 6. But it's been super fun with that. But with all of that, let's get into some hockey talk. Last we left off, we were going to have 2 games against the Penguins and 2 against the New Jersey Devils. Unfortunately, we have to break down that first Penguins game, but I'll let you break down the scoring of that while I share some Caps groups, and then we can move on from there.
Of course. So last Tuesday, the Caps and the Pens played in DC in the first period. Pens scored the only goal at 6:41 with a power play goal. Second period, Caps scored at 4:38 with a wrister by Ponick, assisted by Chara and Carlson. Connor Sheary scored his 5th at 13:18 to give the Caps a 2-1 lead, but the Pens tied it up at 13:40, and there were no goals in the third, and we headed into overtime, and here we go, 1:43, the Pens score, so it was a 3-2 loss. I will say, and I know I feel like frustrating and inconsistent like it's just these like common words that I keep using, but I feel like this was just a really kind of what the hell game. To be honest, it was very much like the Capitals came on the ice and we're not ready to play. We're not ready to. They just weren't with it. Like, they were not. It was. I don't know. It was a very frustrating game for me, to be honest. There was a huge, and I think the word I used before was disconnect. And I think this was a huge disconnect with the team. They just kind of didn't seem to be in it. And to go off of what Tony said in the chat, definitely not 60 minutes of hockey, and definitely a frustration.
Yeah, Carol, what is your initial thoughts on this, and then I'll give my take.
This one, I just feel Pittsburgh just outplayed the Capitals this game. You look at the shot disparity, they outshot them in every period except for the third, and the Capitals only got 7 shots on goal, and Pittsburgh got 6. So face-off, which has been a problem, throughout the season. They did get better towards the end of the week. But I know we'll talk about that in the remaining games, but you also have to look at the competition they were going against. But this game, I just feel like Pittsburgh outplayed them. I got to give a shout out to the Double V, man. He's out there doing it, as a rookie, coming up from the EHL and not being expected. I think we spoke on it last week, not being expected to, not knowing if he was going to play, be a backup, start, and the work that he's putting in, and he's getting more and more comfortable out there. So
yeah.
He's playing his ass off. They still haven't been able to get him his first shutout, even though they've had a couple of chances in the third period where they had a chance and they gave up a bad goal or ended up giving a penalty up and getting a power play goal to get the other team into it. But he's been playing some great goaltending.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's done some of the best numbers of any rookie goaltender for the Capitals in history. I mean, we talked about it early on, but the workload that he's getting, I mean, he's putting up, I think he's got right now the most wins of any rookie goaltender in the league. And he's like top 5 in wins overall, which is really incredible when he was not even supposed to be the workhorse. It was obviously supposed to be Sam. And we'll get into Sam's first game back in a little bit. I know that Carol and I were going to have a little bit of a debate about Sam. We had a pre-show debate, so we'll see how much of that comes into play here.
How did I miss that?
Yeah. So
I was cussing Sammy out, boy. I was like, man, those 2 weak goat, man.
I know there were weak goals. We'll get to there, but I still think it's how you finish, not how you start, especially when you haven't played in a month. So but we'll get into that game in a little bit. But overall, I'll be honest, I missed the first period, which obviously seemed like it was the worst period of this game in the sense that Malkin scored and no Capitals did. I came down and switched jerseys, and I put on this beautiful jersey, and I was hoping that the debut jersey for this nice new one would be a win. And it was looking good. I mean, they scored the next 2 goals, including Connor Sherry, who continues to really destroy the second, which is awesome. And then, of course, they get one back just a couple of seconds later, which is what the backbreaker, right? We take that 2-1 lead, and immediately it's taken away. And as you said, no scoring in the third, and then not a good goal. I mean, overtime's such a crapshoot. There's just all these 2-on-1, going back and forth usually.
Well, and an overtime goal with a twin of Phil Kessel. I mean, this guy, I can't, when I look at him, it's like, oh my gosh, doppelganger. It's crazy to me, but yeah.
I wonder if he likes hot dogs as much as but yeah, I agree. It's just tough to lose to Pittsburgh. So I'm not going to get too far into this because the best way to get a bad taste of a Pittsburgh loss out of our mouth is to talk about a win against Pittsburgh. So why don't you get into the scoring of this game, and then we'll get
Perfect. So now we have the Pens, and now we have a 180, which to me is the best way to go. So we have Backstrom scoring his 9th, which was the only goal in the first, at 11:20, and with his assist by Jensen. who is one that we've, well, maybe not you guys so much, but I have definitely thrown under the bus, and I am so happy to see that he is making progress and making a name for himself. I knew he could.
No, he's stepping up big time.
No goals in the second. And third period has Oshie scoring his fifth, which to me, I was speechless watching this. I don't know, Carol and Robbie, if you guys saw this.
Yes, I had to rewind it a couple of times myself when I saw it live. I was like, did that just happen?
It reminds me so much of Ovechkin, where he's on his butt, you know, when he's like sliding backwards. And this time he's like airborne, and then he like somehow
pokes
at the puck, and it flies straight up and up and over the goalie, which I don't know. I mean, how do you do that in motion? I don't know.
Oshie is ridiculous.
For anybody that
man.
hasn't watched it at least 10 times to say, holy shit, like that's amazing.
Yeah, that's all you could say was, how did he do that? But he was happy that he did it. But he was like, wow, that was amazing.
It's definitely. I mean, they tweeted it. You know, goal of the year candidate ? And so if you go back to my recap of that episode, in the description, I put a link to the Twitter video. So if anyone missed it, the Capitals do a good job of isolating the goals and doing good tweets, which I appreciate.
I think it made, like somebody said it, the top 10 goals on ESPN. It was like number 3 or something, but whatever it was, for us, it was the number 1. It was absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was top 3 of like overall. I mean, Sports Center. I can't imagine that there are 2 better goals than that one. You know.
No way. So with that goal, you have Eller. That was Eller's 6th assist and Carlson's 11. And then a minute later, the Pens scored to tie it up. But the Pens score, so they score again at 7:22. But the remaining minutes, the Capitals dominated. And Wilson scores his 7th with a power play goal at 12:40. Carl Hagelin scores his 2nd with an empty netter, and Eller scores at 19:08, with an empty netter. This was just a fast, clean, exactly how you want the Capitals to play kind of game, especially with the face-off being 61.4%. Like that. To me, for the face-off, that is showing everything is moving in the right direction. So this was a fantastic game.
Yeah, Carol, what are some of your thoughts on it?
I definitely agree. Give a quick scoring update in the Carolina-Florida game. Florida just scored with around 3 minutes left in the third. It's 2-1 going against Carolina Hurricanes. It's been a very physical game.
It's crazy that the Southeast is kind of like the best part of that division, right? You got Tampa Bay, you got Florida, you got Carolina as 3 of the top 5 teams in that division. And like when we used to play them, those were like, we used to beat up on them. It's just what a weird world.
It's so weird.
Hey, realignment, it's the COVID world, so we seeing a lot of different matchups, and like I said, a lot of different rivalries that starting that we would have never thought of. But getting back to the 5-2 victory, this was a great bounce back game after the disappointing loss to them previously. It was good to see that power play goal by Wilson to get the preserve the game and game-winning goal, because that game could have definitely went a different way once Pittsburgh had tied it up. But it was good to see them keep their foot on the pedal, like you mentioned earlier, and didn't look back and kept fighting, kept hustling, and then the 2 empty netters was just icing on the cake. But it was definitely a total effort. They outshot them 35-28, as you mentioned. The face-offs 61%, and they scored on the power play. We've seen them, lately get 3 or 4 opportunities and not score. They at least went 1 for 3, and 24 hits as opposed to 21. They throwing their weight around once they got the lead, and that's always a good thing.
So Two things. One is the Pittsburgh media is very angry at Tom Wilson because there was a
Oh,
hit.
that
early in
hit.
that game. So it was a little late.
It was a little. It was a
little
little
late.
late.
A little late.
Delayed.
But the media outcries, is Tom Wilson back? Is he hurting people again? Let's talk about all the times he hurt people in the past, disregarding the fact that he's played so differently over the last 2 years. But like the media hammered him.
I mean, but going back to that hit, that was a hell of a hit because it knocked the wind out of dude. Dude was on the ground for a little while after that hit. It was
and the
late.
chirping that happened afterwards, and it's like, and I'm like, he's saying this is fucking great. It's a great hit, and which is enraging the Pittsburgh media even more, and the fans. Like, if you read Twitter after that, loaded with the hatred of Tom
They
Wilson.
hate him.
Oh my
And I
goodness!
love
Yeah,
it.
he can't go to Pittsburgh without a pistol on him.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But then he gets the game-winning goal, right? Because
Makes it
the
even
third
worse.
goal. Oh, just salt in the wound, and so I had to bring that little element up there because I'm so happy he did. Because when he scores this power play goal, right, and it was a power play goal. At the time, we had been hemorrhaging goals, right? In a span of about 4 minutes, they went from 2-0 to 2-2, right? And then this happens about 5 minutes later. There's the power play, and it's much needed. And it's a great goal. An assist by John Carlson, who's been playing phenomenal. The Capitals said that he is their defensive player of the month. They now actually give awards for their own players for the month. I don't know about that, but anyway, they're saying he's and I don't blame him. And the numbers are great. He's top 2 defensive players in points right now, and he's been playing much better. I know that we early on in the season we thought John Carlson had some iffy games, and so I have seen impressive. I love Carl Hagelin getting an empty netter, ex-Penguin, and then Lars Eller, the Tiger. I like that he got one as well, because in my mind you can never have too many goals against the Penguins. I would have been happy if it was 10-2. So so I was
both of
pretty
those
happy.
goals were well deserved because both of them been working hard and have been snake bitten when it's come to scoring. So I know they were happy to at least get a goal on the board because there's been a couple of chances. Hagelin, and he's had some clean looks and somehow missed it. Eller, he's made some good plays and got robbed by some good goalies. So I know just to get that goal on the board was just like, all right, at least I got a goal. I've been robbed so many times, so I was happy that they got on the board too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just checking right here. So somebody's asking, why do they do 3-on-3 overtime? Why don't they play with 5? And the answer is they want to have more goals. They want it to end in overtime and not go to a shootout. And Gil's watching, so hello, Gil. And how do you play overtime without Obi on the ice? I think he was a little bit nicked up and injured. So I think to answer the question, that's why he wasn't on the
take
ice.
a maintenance day the next day.
Right, exactly. And, Ovi isn't the fastest player. He's a big guy and he's great, but and I know that he's scored a lot of overtime goals, but unless he's at peak form and peak speed, he could get burned really easily going the other way. It's a speed game in these 3-on-3 overtimes. And it's just too much of a liability at that point. And save him, because maybe save his energy. If it does go to a shootout, maybe you put him, I know he's not great at it, but maybe he's still one of your top 5 shootout people. So that makes some sense to me. So I appreciate everyone for chiming in and asking questions.
I have a quick scoring update from the Carolina-Florida game. Carolina pulled the goalie and scored a game-time goal with 2 minutes left on the clock to make it 2-2. As soon as I gave the first update, I turned around. They scored again. They scored to tie the game up. So this has been a good game, man.
That's awesome. All right, so I think that we've talked about that Pittsburgh game. I mean, it was a great game. Let's get into the 2 New Jersey games. This is the opportunity for the Capitals where everyone's like, oh, you just beat Jersey in 2 games, whatever. Good teams.
Not whatever.
Right, exactly. Good teams have to beat quote unquote bad teams, and I'm not even sure New Jersey is a bad team. And
they're just young and rebuilding.
Exactly, and too often do teams play down to the level of the competition. And I felt like I didn't really see that in these games. I thought that the Capitals played well, as did New Jersey. I thought New Jersey played well. And these games, even though the first game looks like a blowout, I think it's a much closer game. And that second game was very tight. So let's talk about the scoring in the Saturday earlier game first, and then I'll get Carol's thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off of what you just said, I think that the Devils give the Capitals that perfect push. Like it's not so much the rival of the Penguins, but I think that it is a perfect match on ice, and I really enjoy watching these games. So Saturday we head to Newark to play the Devils. And at 3:36, Hathaway scores his third, assisted by Schultz and Hagelin. And 90 seconds later, Sprong scores his third, assisted by Dillon and Carlson. And at 13:40, Eller scores his fourth to give the Capitals a 3-0 lead, which I don't think a lot of us expected so early, especially in the first period, but I'll take it.
An afternoon game. Our afternoons have been very sleepy. So, like, we've been lucky to kind of stay in it in the first and then, like, win it in the second and third if we won it. I mean, the only afternoon game we'd even won to this point, I'll remind people, is the New Jersey game the previous Sunday. So it wasn't like we had won a lot of these afternoon games. In fact, we were, I believe, 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 3, and 2, one of those. But either way, not a lot of wins.
Exactly. So although I thought it was going to be a 3-0 closeout in the first, the Devils do score at 18-16 with the power play goal to close out the first. And the Devils do score the only goal in the second. So it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? Third period has Rana scoring his sixth at 11:49. And Dowd closing out the third with his empty netter at 19:06 for a 5-2 win. And I felt like this was the Capitals team that we needed to see for a long time, and this is the Capitals team that we need to see consistently from now on. I know Kuzi wasn't on ice, but I felt like the lines were good. It was tight. They were exactly where they needed to be, but I don't know, there's something about this Devils team that I think it's like it's a good match. And because the Devils they have their veterans, but they also have a ton of young players. So I think that it's a good balance, and I think that, it makes for very fast and awesome hockey to watch. So this is a very fun game.
Yeah, Carol, what were some of your thoughts?
Very true, very true. Kuzi is he has I think it's an upper body injury. That's why Sprong was in the game, and whenever he's got a chance to get in there, he's been playing very well. He has a great shot, and we saw that on that goal. With New Jersey, I was looking at a stat that the Capitals have won 27 out of the last 31 games against the Devils. So the Devils, they're going through a rebuild. They got Jack Hughes. That dude is going to be nice. He's only been in the league now going on 2 years. He's 19 years old. So they definitely have a bright future. But right now, the Capitals are just, too good for them. They play them tough. They play them tight. But at the end of the day, like you say, the Capitals are going to need to beat the teams that they should beat. And that's what they end up doing the most of the time with New Jersey. So it was a good, effort, a good, I'm not gonna say barometer, but it was a good game to see what this team can do, when they're playing at their best, especially coming off of the Pittsburgh victory. You wanted to see how they would play. And like Robbie said, sometimes they would play down to their competition. This game, they didn't do that. Got off to a fast start, scoring 3 goals in the first, and, that kind of kept them going in the direction they needed to go until the next game.
They could kind of coast in the second and then sort of put it on in the third and not have to expend all their energy. I don't want them to coast a lot of games, but it gave them an opportunity to conserve a little energy and play, for the back-to-back.
That long change is a beast on the road. So yeah, like I say, the second period that might have played something into it. That's a good point, Robbie.
Yeah. So I think I was shocked to get 3 goals so early, to speak to your point about that. So I have one of these Budweiser goal horns in my man cave, and this season the hockey games are even more of a delay than they were in previous years, which makes a lot of sense. They're calling these games remotely from the studio, so it's fed to them. They're calling it, and then it's sent to us, right? So it's not in the moment. I know while we're watching, we're thinking that's live, but really that's probably 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds ago, right? Which is true of most sports. Usually there's at least a 5 to 10 second delay. But this year it's even longer. So my goal horn goes off about 12 to 15 seconds before the play. So it gives me time to go sit down, get a beer, and sit and watch, and then let it all unfold.
At least you don't miss it. At least you don't miss it.
It's kind of funny because Zach goes running around and he's goal, a goal on the screen. And so, let's watch it together, So, but my dad made a point that it was a little anticlimactic, right? Because if you see a shot on goal and you didn't hear a goal horn 13 seconds ago, you know that we don't get it in, right? So I wanted to get it a little bit closer because 13 seconds is a long time. But so I was trying to adjust it because you can actually add delay to the goal horn in the app. So this was a phenomenal game for me to test this because it was goal, up the delay a little bit, another goal, need to up it a little bit more, and then the third one I got it almost perfect. So that way the goal horn went off with the actual thing. So I wanted to thank the Capitals for helping me troubleshoot my goal horn with this first period, and so that was very enjoyable, and I'm happy that they held on and won the game. And Verona had a great birthday weekend, right? So I mean, he scored a goal in this game, and I will use that as sort of our way to go into the next game.
Before we go to the next game, I saw something about Verona got benched in the second period for not showing effort, and that third period goal, that breakaway was kind of what spurred that on. Now, I actually watched the replay of the game at 10 o'clock because, I didn't get a chance to watch it. I was at work live. And I can say during that first period on defense, he was just, out there skating. You didn't really see him out there giving effort. And that's the one thing I got to give credit to your coach. He, set him down, and he got instant results from it. And then, like you said, piggyback into the next game on his birthday. But, yeah, I did notice that, I'm a Rana fan, and I didn't notice it until I saw someone say that he got benched in the second, so I made sure to look out for it. And, yeah, he was a little lackadaisical in that first period.
Yeah, it's very true. One thing I did want to mention, I'm trying to pull up the stat right here. Let's see, here it is. On Saturday, so from through his first 20 games, this is a stat that happened on Saturday. Through his first 20 games, the head coach of the Capitals, Laviolette, is 11-5-4 at the time, tied for the best 20-game start by a head coach in franchise history. So I know that a couple of weeks ago we were questioning, is he worth it? Is he not? We were talking about how he needed to get off to a fast start as a Capitals head coach. I was saying, let's give him a year at least, and let's really judge him by next year when he's got a full off season and a full year under his system. But this isn't a bad start to his tenure, So
no doubt.
In a very tough division.
Like I said, I didn't doubt him. I was just like, I was just sitting back and observing, But quick scoring update: Carolina scored in overtime 3-2 over Florida after Florida tied it up with 2 minutes left. Carolina able to hold on and get the second point over Florida. Florida's been playing well, but whenever it goes to overtime, it doesn't ever turn out well for them often.
True. All right, well, so those were good points. Verona maybe resting a little extra gave him a bit of a spark for his birthday. The Capitals hyped up his birthday going into it, with all the social media. And then during the game, they even had some really nice packages about him. And in fact, after one of those packages, he scored a goal, which I thought was kind of cool because he obviously doesn't know what's happening on TV.
Right.
But break down the scoring in this game, and then we'll talk a bit about it.
Sure thing. So yesterday the puck dropped at 3 o'clock, and it has a double scoring first at 6:45, followed by the birthday boy Verona tying it up at 15:39, assisted by Wilson, which was his 9th, and Dylan's 7th. Second period has Robbie's number 19, Nicholas Backstrom scoring his 10th. So fantastic. At 2:32, assisted by Wilson and Brana to give it a 2-1 lead. Excuse me, the double score a minute later, but at 13:37, the captain scores his 7th, assisted by Eller and Jensen. Thank you, Vanna White. And no goals in the third. And this was the time to see the kick-ass face-off percentage because the Capitals were 67.4%. And that is what I've wanted to see for so long. Like, finally get someone or two players in there, whether it's Dowden, Backstrom, or whomever it is, for that face-off. And that is the best percentage we've seen in a while. This was just great. I mean, it was fun hockey to watch. It was they looked like they were in their groove, and you just can't go wrong. Not just like with the captain scoring, but just the overall, and then of course welcoming Samson back.
Yeah.
So, and I know that has mixed reviews from people, but
right. Let's have that mixed reviews now, Carol. So first of all, I just want to say Jacob Brana, 1 goal, 1 assist. Great birthday, a lot of energy. He was a big part of that Nicholas Backstrom goal, getting into Tom Wilson. And I have more on Nicholas Backstrom's post-game interview, which I thought had some fun moments. But I want to have this debate first with Carol about Samsonov, because we had been talking
I'm
offline.
wanting to hear this.
Yes. So the first two, I'll let you start, Carol. I'll let you start.
No, just those first 2 goals, boy. That the first shot and goal, it was, to me, I was like, okay, he's rusty. He hasn't been in it. Okay, I'm gonna let that one slide. But then the second one, I was like, all right, come on now. But like you said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. He was able to compose himself and not give up anymore. And I'm just more of a double V fan right now because he's been out there doing it. And even when the defense wasn't playing well and it was giving him a lot of odd man rushes, he was, stepping up to the occasion. And as a rookie, that's all you can ask. And, I heard Todd Reardon last year was speaking to, I forgot who it was I was watching on NHL Network, but he said last year that when he saw double V, he's like, I think he's going to be something special. I think we have a real goaltender with this team. And after hearing that and seeing the way he's performing, I'm like, let's ride it out and see what this kid can do. Samsonov's been around for a while. Unfortunately, the injury bug has always, bit him every now and again when he's had a chance to take over or get a chance to shine. Let's see what the rookie can do and see if we can, might have a diamond in the rough that we can ride on another playoff run and see what he can do.
I'm happy that Carol has come around and agrees with me. I don't have to have the debate, but I'll have the debate But I'll have the debate with myself, with the people that I've seen online in groups. Now, I know Carol's not had the pleasure of getting to interact with people in these Facebook groups, but I will tell you that so many people want double V gone. They want Sam gone. They want the coach gone. They want all of this. And we're in first place in the toughest division in hockey. And I just want people to calm down a little bit. Double V is a rookie. There's going to be some mistakes. He's not going to be perfect, but he's growing and building into who he is. Samsonov was injured. Then he came back. He played 2 games, a win and an overtime loss, mind you, or maybe it was a shootout loss. Either way, it was 1-0 and 1. So he wasn't doing terrible. Then he gets COVID. And when they were talking about him getting COVID, him and Kuzi got COVID bad. It's not like they just got little sniffles, little something, could come back in 2 weeks. They said they couldn't breathe. They said they were dizzy. They said that they couldn't walk. And they were isolated from everyone for like a month. And they had to deal with the isolation and their own internal demons. Do you know what it takes to go through that? And then they'd be able to come back. And I understand that Kuzi hasn't been the same player since he's come back from that. But I don't know who could be. And I know Kuzi's got his own issues this season, and I'm not going to excuse everything on this. But I think he's also maybe injured, and he's dealt with a lot. but Samsonov had it bad. And as a goalie, timing is everything. So to take a month off of hockey for a goaltender, just a little bit here and there off could be everything when these pucks are flying at you at 100 miles per hour. And so he went and he did this AHL stint. He had 4 games there. The last game, he actually played the New Jersey affiliate on Friday, and he got one of the 3 stars of the game. I believe it was the 2nd star of the game. And he played well. And they said, on basically 1 day rest, he could come on Sunday. We could see how it goes. He started off a little bit rusty. That first one knuckle pucked on him. It looked a lot worse than I think it really was. The second goal was unexcusable. I'm not going to try to,
there was one. Okay, so then maybe it was the first one that I think it hit.
It was at the blue line. It's always bad when it's a shot from the blue line. Right. But I guess the thing that got me the most was his save percentage at Hershey was like 86%. That's why
it wasn't good. I'm not going to say that he's been playing good. But
that's why I got upset when he gave up those first 2. I was like, hold up, this ain't Hershey. You can't be giving up 86% of the shots that's coming your way. So like,
that's true. I think the team rallied around him, and they really played well after that moment. But what I have to try to stress to these people is it's trial by fire. He can't just keep playing AHL games and somehow get to the NHL level. He's got to do it. And New Jersey's the perfect team, that you could give up a goal or 2 and still maybe come away with a win, right? Where like you give up a goal or 2 at the beginning of a Boston game or a Philly game, maybe you don't come back in those games. So, I would like to see the next game go back to double V, right? I think that he deserves, the next one. And a Boston game. But then I give Samsonov the Friday Boston one, and then you turn around and give the Philadelphia to double V. And that way they both get some work in here, right? Because there's only 3 games this week. And I think that it's important that they both get work. I think obviously if double V somehow puts a stellar, amazing game against Boston, and you can't see putting anybody else on Friday, maybe my opinion changes. But I still think you've got a day off in between. It's a perfect schedule. And I really think that you play it this way. Carol, I'll ask your thoughts. Do you think you play both this week?
What you said makes sense. I could see, that could be the logic of them going into it. Get Samsonov some work and let double V get 2 and let him get 1. I think that's probably what they might do because Samsonov's going to need more work. Gave up those 2 early goals, but did well the rest of the game. They want to try to probably piggyback off of that. So hopefully they'll probably get him in there for a game. Like you said, it's only 3 games this week. So.
Right. So the first 2 are against Boston. So Wednesday and a Friday one. So we've got a little bit of time off. But because we have the time off, it's been a little while since double V's been in goal on Saturday. So I don't want him to go too long, especially if he's your quote-unquote hot goaltender. But I also don't want then Sam to go over a week without playing because you've got to build on what he's learned. So those 2 Boston games. And then there's that interesting Philadelphia Sunday game. And I wanted to point to the Philadelphia's super hard schedule. I hope that we can take advantage of this because Philadelphia in their next 3 games is to play Pittsburgh 3 times in a row. And that's a bloodbath between those 2 teams, right? And then so they play on Saturday against Philly versus Pittsburgh as the 3rd game in that, and then we play them the next day where we actually have a day off. So there are times when we have these condensed schedules. This week we have more of an open schedule. So I really want us to take advantage of these 3 games coming up. I was looking at Philadelphia's upcoming month. They have a brutal month. At one point, they have to play a game 3 days in a row against, I think it was Buffalo, because they had to reschedule a lot of those games. And so I think Philly has to play Buffalo 3 days in a row to end the month. So it's really important that we don't get into any of these COVID situations because, these condensed schedules are going to be brutal. And, I think it's important to take advantage of it. So I'm going to ask real quickly, Anna, 2 games against Boston, 1 game against Philadelphia. What's your thought? And then I'm going to ask Carol the same question, and we'll try to get out of here.
I think definitely I want to see both goalies in, to be honest. And I think it's only fair, if Samsonov if all of a sudden we were playing on the weekend and it was 5-0, they pulled him. then I would say, oh, like I'm not quite sure with Sammy. But I think it's like, God, give a kid some slack, cut him some slack. We know that he has the ability. We know he has the skills. So I'm all for it. But we're also going up against a Boston team that pretty much has the same record that we do. That what are they? 12-5-2. You just can't go lightly. And I know everyone keeps saying like, oh, Chara against the own team, but that's one player. It's like there are players on Boston that you just cannot dismiss. So
that'll be weird for Boston, for him to go back to Boston and be in the road. I don't know. Or maybe when he's really young, but like it's been a long time since he's been in the road locker room.
Yeah. So it's like there are things to think about. So I think that you play each goalie, and I think that the fans need to be behind both of them equally. Give it 100%. We didn't support Samsonov and root for him so much prior to this whole COVID situation. For us to all of a sudden say that he's not worthy and he should he
played so well for us last year before that COVID break, and people just forget about that.
They do, and to me that is infuriating, because it's like, come on guys, like let's think about he definitely has made a name for himself, and cut him some slack. So
people just want to trade him and trade other people and get new goalies and all the time.
Like trade.
What happens when those players become great on these other teams? Look at Burakovsky and how well he's played, right? Right, Grubauer's played well. So like just trading away assets doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Like you should develop them and try to improve upon them. That's how we won the cup in 2018.
Agree.
It wasn't because we traded a whole bunch of pieces away. So, Carol, what are your thoughts on the two Boston games and then the Philadelphia one?
The two Boston games definitely. Well, all three of them going to be interesting. It's going to Boston. They took a bad loss a couple of nights ago, so they're going to be amped to get back up. Like Anna mentioned, they're right with the Capitals in the standings. So these games are going to be very crucial, and hopefully the Caps can handle things in regulation and make it a 2-point game and not a 1-point game. And Philly, they've been up and down also. Philly, we talked last week, Boston put a touchdown on them, so they've been having some injury issues. So, I mean, the Caps, if they play like they played against Pittsburgh that second game, they can win all three. But we have to see 60 minutes of hockey from them. No dumb penalties, and hustle and fight, and continue to being good at the face-off. I forgot the coach that they just recently hired that was brought on to help with the face-offs, and I saw his name, and I'm not even gonna try to remember it because I know I'm not. But since he's
for the Capitals, they did that.
Yeah, it was an ex-player, and I can't remember his. I know it's
that makes sense. I was gonna ask if any of you guys knew, because like you've seen a significant change, right? So clearly something happened. It wasn't just like
because Dowd has been killing it. I think he has. Yeah, I think he has like an 80% win percentage right now, and I forgot the player's name. But they brought him on about, I think they said a week or two ago, and ever since he's been on board, the face-off percentage has been going up since in the last few games. Granted, it was the Devils, but we'll see what happens going forward. But it's definitely, you can see an improvement.
Yeah, interesting. I was just trying to do a quick look to see if I can figure it out. But anyway, I think they'll probably split the Boston ones and hopefully take advantage of Pittsburgh beating up on Philadelphia all week, and then we win that game. So I think we probably win the first Boston one, lose the second one, win the Philly one. If I was going to make a betting guess on how we would do. Anna, real quick before I want to let you go, I really loved your podcast. I listened to it last night. They did a special, Carol, I don't know if you know, but it was on Black History Month. They had two great Capitals fans come on and give their take on being a Black Capitals fan, and it was really interesting perspective for both of them, because one of them has been a fan for a very long time, and the other one had been a fan since the 90s. So it really, you got sort of two different, I don't want to say generations perspectives, but almost, one who's kind of a fan from the beginning and one from the 90s, which is two very different perspectives. So just really cool. I highly encourage people, if you click on our podcast partners button on sportsothp.com and then click the Power Play Point podcast and really go check it out. I think you did a great recap of the week as well as the second half of the podcast talking about that. So I appreciate it. Any final thoughts before we let you go tonight?
No, and Carol, I just know that if somebody wasn't in Facebook jail, they would have been the person on our show last night.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's getting kind of crazy, man. They monitoring because we have so much engagement going through our pages, and because I'm admins on that page, they monitor. Because I've been, I'm a repeat offender, so I ain't like I'm innocent in all of this. I've been, some stuff that I shouldn't have posted that I did. But now, since we don't, I'm not gonna get into it because I'm not trying to get Robbie taken off the air. But yeah, they're really monitoring my activity, even old activity from 2019. So yeah, they just added another 30 days onto my bid. So I didn't even do nothing for. I'm not even.
And close one of your groups. But anyway,
okay. Well, I didn't mean to open that can.
Yeah, I don't want Robbie to get shut down too, because whenever I start talking, it start always happening.
I know, but Carol would have been great on that show. I know he does another show on Sunday nights as well, so there was a little bit of a timing conflict there. But we love obviously Carol's take on the Capitals, and but I really appreciate you guys bringing some light on because there's just not enough talked about and unfortunately there's not enough black hockey fans and players in the league. I think Carol and I talk about it all the time. We don't understand if you love football. Like, you should love hockey. I don't.
My brothers are so reluctant. I even break it down to them as like basketball on ice. I try to break it down to them to get so I can relate it to them. Because I break it down, your point guard is your center. He controls the pace of the game. Yeah. Your forwards are your defensemen protecting your goalie. Your guards, that's basically your wings. They're the only ones that can make the fancy plays, and they got pick and rolls, they got give and goes. You just got to watch it develop. And some of them, I've actually turned a couple of my folks on the hockey. They're not diehard fans like us, but I can get them to actually sit and watch a game with me. But most of my folks, man, they just so reluctant, man. They're like, we don't watch hockey. I'm like, but they upset when I don't watch basketball. I'm like, come on, man. You enjoy basketball. I enjoy hockey.
And that was the big thing last night was trying to, when they keep saying with Capitals that they're, wanting to bring diversity to the sport, and I keep seeing these commercials and I agree 110%, but my biggest question is how. I hear you guys saying it, but how is that going to happen? And so last night it was Stuart and Ty brought up really good points that hockey's damn expensive. It is a damn expensive sport, and so I think that. But I'm not asking people to all of a sudden play hockey. I'm just asking you to support it. Yeah. Why not? That doesn't cost anything, but it is very hard to get people.
It'll be interesting when the bid comes up, right? Because NBC owns the rights right now, and if it goes back to ESPN, if they controlled it today, obviously it was very different when they had it before. I'd be curious to see. Hopefully, they would still push it as much as if they push it the way that they could push it. It could become more popular.
They don't really push it like they used after that second lockout. ESPN was really hands off
because they don't have the rights, though, Carol. If they were actually airing the games, they might push it more.
Oh yeah, they might, but we'll see. But to piggyback off of what Anna was saying about the Capitals and the diversity, that video that they played. That young hockey player that went to the game, I'm actually friends with him his father on Facebook, and I was trying to get him on the show. They actually had him down in Kettler. He got to meet the team. They gave him a jersey, all of that. And he actually is a young hockey player. He's going to be, he might as well say he's going to be in the NHL. He's 12 or 13 years old. He's already 6 feet. And almost 200 pounds, and he has skill. His father shows videos of him working out, going to the rink and everything. And he actually had a racist comment thrown at him a couple of years ago when they were playing hockey, and that's how he ended up getting invited. He ended up doing the interviews on the local news and everything. I haven't had a chance to stay in touch with his dad because, like I said, I was trying to get him on the show. But the Capitals are definitely invested in trying to bring diversity to the game. And like I said, you got fans out here like myself. I know, with Robbie and us going down to the Capital One for Valor games and Mystics games, we ran into fans that, African American fans that did watch hockey that actually, watched our show and talk about it. So it's like you said, Robbie, if it gets on ESPN and gets more, pub than NBC does, then yeah, hopefully it can bring back. But that second lockout really hurt hockey on so many different levels that folks don't even talk about it. But yeah, I remember Wednesday night hockey on ESPN. They used to hype it up, had a whole, pregame and, had it in the ice and on the ice just like they do on NBC now. So yeah, if they can get back to, some more mainstream markets, then yeah, it's possible. A lot of folks don't have NHL Network. I love having it, but I know a lot of folks don't. And it's a lot of great hockey coverage on there that's not being seen by the, folks that could be fans.
Agree.
Very true. All right. Well, Anna, we kept you way over time. We appreciate you giving us an hour tonight.
I will send you my bill later.
Exactly.
The check is in the mail.
All right. But we'll have you on next week, and we'll recap those 3 games. And
let's say for all Boston wins, right?
Oh, yeah, win all of them. Yeah.
Hey, 3-0 week would be good.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And
2 weeks in a row, we've had 3 wins, so that would be nice. So.
But I think Carol and I just want to see Tommy drop the glass with
I want to see. I want to see him put Marshawn through the ice.
Or you know what? I'll take Dylan or Hathaway at this point.
Yeah, I just want somebody to put him through the ice, man. Just punch him so hard that he's under the ice when it's all over.
How funny would it be if it was Chara, though, right? He just wrecks him.
That would, I would love that. That would be perfect.
I love it. All right, but have a great rest of the show. I'll see you guys next week.
All right, Anna, take it easy.
Awesome. All right. Well, that ran a little bit over, but we're just gonna, we'll just go a little long on the NBA on the back end. But I appreciate the hockey talk as always. We'll bring, I guess, the guys in now, and Carol will talk a little bit at the very end.
Yeah, I might chime in. Like I said, I watched a couple of games this week. I jumped on, so I might have a couple of questions for the panel and see what their thoughts are.
Nice, sounds good. All right, well, message me if you want me to give you some spot time for that. And all right, so I got the whole squad here. Welcome on in. I'll introduce. I think DCsPeoplesChamp. I have a little bit of a hum from you.
That's because me sleepy.
Interesting. I don't know why there's a buzz. It's weird. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just calling in from my lake house over here.
Sounds good.
A lot of fun.
All right. Sounds good. Arun, are we going to see you on camera, or are you going to just be the voice of Arun?
I'm here with my dog. Sorry. I thought there was only 4 people allowed on the video.
No, you're good. It's only when Carol has his feet up that we can only fit 4.
I'm getting an earbud too.
Nice. And Brian Brennan, I was checking out the last 2 episodes of Upon Further Review. You're doing an awesome job as always. How are you
doing? Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Sounds good. And Champ, why don't we do a quick mic check to see if that works better?
How does this sound now?
It's very loud.
Oh my god.
I don't know. It sounded good on your podcast. I was checking that out earlier. I don't know. But obviously Zoom has very different settings. We'll get back to PeoplesChamp in a second. I'm going to share the screen right now. We'll get some stats live. So exciting week. Just to recap it for some people. Obviously, we last left you off in this Lakers-Wizards game where I kind of said that I thought we would come back at in the first quarter. They outscored us 33-23, and that's kind of when we were on air. The Lakers outscored us in the second as well, 30-26. But the Wizards really came on strong in the second half. Outscored 31-23 in the third and 35-29 in the fourth. They actually kind of took control over the game, and then the Lakers stormed back and forced overtime I was a little bit nervous. I thought that this is where the Lakers would kind of take over, and maybe I would be wrong with my prediction. But in the end, the Wizards outscored the Lakers at 12-9 in overtime for a 127-124 win. I'll just remind people of the box score. Bradley Beal had a great game, 44 minutes played, scored 33 points. Westbrook also played for 44 minutes, just an assist shy of a triple-double, 14 rebounds, 9 assists, and 32 points for him. And Robin Lopez and Rui Hachimura were also in double-digit scoring. I'm going to quickly get everyone's take on this game, and then we'll get into the Clippers game. I'm going to start off with Arun, who I know wasn't on last week, but happy birthday, belated birthday, Arun. I know that you were doing some birthday festivities last week. I don't know if you got to check out the end of this game, but what were some of your thoughts?
Yeah, overall, really good win for Wizards. I also thought that this was the most winnable game from last week on the road trip out of the last 3 games. And what it came down to is the fact that the Lakers didn't have Anthony Davis, and Montrezl Harrell was scoring as much as Anthony Davis was. He wasn't doing it on the defensive end, and that's why Vogel took him out of the game. And in the overtime period, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal came through. And I thought the key to the game was just making sure LeBron wasn't angry enough or motivated enough to beat the Wizards. Because typically, like Wall used to say in the past, like, oh, LeBron's scared of playing us. He didn't want to play us last year in the playoffs. And then LeBron would go on to hit like turnaround fadeaway 3-pointer in the corner. So overall, it was just it was pretty funny that after the game, national media is like, "What's wrong with the Lakers?" Like that's like typically what's happened every time the Wizards have beaten a team. But it's a long regular season. Nobody should really be worried about the Lakers. They struggled in the bubble and they won the championship last year. Maybe we'll be worried if they're down in this area. They're defending champs, but it's still pretty impressive win for the Wizards.
Yeah, it was a very impressive win. I was surprised that they took him out. You say it for defensive liability purposes. It's interesting. He picked up his 5th foul, and I thought that they thought that because he wasn't playing good defense to begin with, and that he would try to play off people, that we would just maybe attack him even more with that 5th foul. So I think that maybe that was part of it as well. I'm going to go to Tim next. Tim, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
This was definitely a great win. The Wizards were down by about 17 points in the second. They had a great comeback. They pulled it out in overtime eventually. Harrell had his season high in points, so Wizards couldn't really stop him. Like Arun said, this was an angry A-plus LeBron, but he still had almost a triple-double there. So for an off night, those are pretty damn good numbers. And besides Anthony Davis getting out, they also had Schroeder out. So the Lakers had 2 big pieces not playing. And, the main focus was on their own 3-game losing streak. It was all about the Lakers losing this game more than the Wizards winning it. But you got to give it up to the Wizards because this win gave us our longest winning streak in 3 years, which is great and pathetic at the same time. But you love to see wins like this because this could be a turning point in the season. Beat the champs on their home floor. People are going to start to take notice.
Especially when it goes to overtime and you think, oh man, they had that opportunity and then they lost the opportunity to then be able to gather themselves back up and figure it out. Champ, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
Again, it seems to be the running gag when it comes to this team, and that's playing defense. And they don't seem to want to play defense. And then the other running gag with this team is shot selection. How do you go 9 for 25 from beyond the arc and think you're going to win? You get lucky and win a game over the defending NBA champions going 9 for 25 from beyond the arc. And that seems to be the theme with the team is that their shot selection is just not smart. They don't seem to want to make the smart and correct shot in order to maximize themselves in terms of offensive productivity. And you can't afford to not be able to make the right shots when you don't play very strong defense. And so for you to only make 9 3-pointers out of 25 attempts, you got dang lucky that you walked out of Staples Center with a win over the NBA champs. Seriously. That's basically all I have for that. That's all I have.
Yeah, we still got a little bit of a hum. I don't know if I'm trying to figure out what it is.
It's the mic. It's the mic. It's the mic. I've had this mic for months, and it's the mic. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, I was trying to troubleshoot on the fly. All right, Brian, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. Despite the fact there was no Anthony Davis, there was no Dennis Schroeder for the Lakers in this game. I think it's still a good win for the Wizards, despite the fact that, they almost blew it. And, the situation with Harrell, I still don't really understand the decision to take Harrell out. He was doing really well in this game. And so I don't really 100% understand why they would take him out, even though, you mentioned they did pick up his 5th foul and there were defensive concerns. But Harrell was doing such a good job for the Lakers in this game that I was really surprised they took him out. But obviously, it helped the Wizards, and like I said, despite the fact that Davis was out and Schroeder was out, and there are all these factors in play for the Wizards, I'm going to say this was a really good win. Probably, to this point, probably the best win, one of the best wins of the season for the Wizards so far. And I mean, just considering who they beating them in LA, it's a big win. It's a big win, and despite everything I said, they should feel very good about it.
Yeah. For sure. All right, let's get, just for timing purposes, we got to get through 5 games. Let's get into this Clippers one real fast. This is a game that I thought we would lose because I thought there would be an emotional letdown. And just from the start, they just got walloped in the first quarter. The Wizards only put up 20 points, maybe a hangover effect from playing the night before on that same court in a very long, tough game against the Lakers. But the Clippers put up 36 in each of the first 2 quarters. At least the Wizards put up 35 in the second. But even at that point, there was already a 17-point lead. The Wizards put an incredible third quarter together and scored 39 points to the Clippers' 27. But then the Clippers showed up in the fourth and scored 36 points. The Wizards only are to put up 22. That 135-116 victory for the Clippers. But overall, I thought that the Wizards still put up a lot of points. Westbrook, 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. It's pretty amazing that he has as many triple-doubles as he has. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But he could have so many more. A bunch of these games he's missed it by just 1 or 2 stats. Bradley Beal put up 28 points, which is actually low for him this season, which is kind of funny. Wagner put up 21. Neto and Rui Hachimura also played pretty well. For the Clippers, they pretty much had scoring all around, and it was just interesting, I guess. They seemed to just play better throughout the game. But I'll get everyone's quick take on it. I'll start with Tim. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's hard to win a back-to-back against another great LA team. I also thought they were going to lose. To be honest, I didn't watch this game because it was on so late. But my big takeaway is they showed a lot of fight. That third quarter comeback was really impressive. Obviously, they got rolled in the fourth quarter, so it didn't matter. But I like to see Wagner playing bigger minutes. He could barely crack the lineup at all early in the season, and now he's starting a lot of games and scoring in double figures. He's a really great energy player, whether he's off the bench or starting. So that's the one upside to this game. But I don't really fault the Wizards for losing this. I just wanted them to split in LA. So those are my thoughts on this.
Makes sense. Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Tim. Just splitting in LA is good. And I think that's kind of what we all thought would happen. And I think just honestly, just coming away with the win against the Lakers was big the night before. You were just due for a letdown, honestly, in this game against the Clippers. The Clippers are a really good team. You saw when you were cycling through the stats, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both, I think, combined for 62 points. You're just not going to beat that. That's just a great effort from another great Clippers team. Yeah, it was a pretty easy win for LA, but overall, I mean, we'll talk about the Denver game in a minute, but overall, huge success of a road trip if you're a Wizards fan.
I agree. Champ, what are some of your thoughts?
We said on last week's podcast that we felt that with the two LA games in the same venue that they would split. I don't think really. I can't remember, but I don't think anybody really called that we would beat the Lakers but lose to the Clippers. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I mean, this game was not close at all. This game was the Clippers from beginning to end. Yes, the Wizards did make that comeback in the third quarter, but the problem is that a basketball game is 4 quarters. So you could do well in 1 quarter, but if you're getting your butt kicked in the other 3, you're not going to win many games. And so that's what happened here. I mean, Kawhi Leonard went off, and they just had a great team effort, outshot the Wiz, they out-rebounded the Wiz. Everything just worked well for this team, and that's why the Wiz, their winning streak was snapped with this loss to the Clippers. But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, yes, it was a loss, but I think that this road trip still proved to be very fruitful for this team.
I agree. All right, Arun, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the loss was expected. I just think the fourth quarter was a little bit weird with Scott Brooks not using the rest Bradley Beal or Wagner after they played the entire third quarter. So that probably led to the dramatic size of the loss. It was only a 5-point game in the beginning of the fourth quarter. I don't think the Wizards were going to win, but I don't think it could have been a blowout either. The bench outscored the Wizards in the first 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, 18-2, and I don't understand why Scott Brooks would play Bradley Beal the entire second half, coming off a back-to-back, especially in a game they're not really supposed to win anyways. And Neto was playing well in the first half. I believe he had double figures for the game. So I think Scott Brooks is going to be Scott Brooks, so that's to be expected. But that's just like another reason why he could probably go. But yeah, this loss is expected, so it isn't that disappointing other than the margin.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to say on this game. Let's just move on and let's talk about the next game, which a lot of us predicted they would not win, but they actually played really well. So the Nuggets are a really good team, and last time the Wizards played them, they beat them, and it was sort of surprising. So a lot of people thought that in the Mile High with the altitude that Denver would get their revenge. It started off well for the Wizards. They outscored the Nuggets 26-22. They were able to, the Nuggets kind of fought their way back, outscored them 32-30 in the second. In the third, it was pretty even once again, but the Nuggets outscored them 34-32. And then the Wizards outscored them by 24-22 to win 112-110. But relatively close game throughout the matchup. Rui Hachimura played a great game, scoring 20 points. Bradley Beal had 33. Westbrook had 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 16 points for another one of those triple doubles. I thought there was really good play throughout the team. For the Nuggets, Murray had a hell of a game and had an opportunity to win it at the buzzer, but when most of the Wizards didn't run back after a missed opportunity, but Murray saw that there was wide open people to his right, so he's like, throw it to them, but one of them should have cut to the basket and got an easy 2, at least force overtime. They didn't. They ended up shooting a 3 and missing. And I think we got really lucky here. I'm going to start off with Arun. What were some of your takeaways on this game? Arun, I think you're muted still.
Yeah, just like I want to talk about that final play of the game where Murray did the step back 3. Like I thought he could have actually drove to the basket, but I actually don't mind that for the Nuggets' sake that he was taking that 3 because he was on fire in that fourth quarter. Porter should have drove to the basket, but I think Murray didn't. I think he should have actually passed it to Porter because I think Campazzo, he's a short guy taking that three, and Neto ran all the way back. He was on the floor. He had missed the layup, and Westbrook and Lopez, they didn't get back on defense at all, and Neto beat them both down the floor. He was lying on his back at the beginning of that play. He did a really nice job contesting that Campazzo shot. I don't think he could have contested Porter, who's a lot taller, but a really weird play by the Nuggets. I don't know why. If they had gone to OT, they looked like they had the momentum to take the game. The Wizards in the fourth quarter have not been that clutch and holding on to lead. Most of their wins have been by fewer than 3 points. But a good win. The Nuggets didn't get their revenge, and it's nice to have a series sweep of a Western Conference team.
Sure. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, another great win. I mean, you look at Washington's win list. It's got 2 against Brooklyn, 2 against Denver, a lot of win against Portland and LA. So another impressive win to check off the list. One thing that stood out to me in this game was just how bad Denver's interior defense is. Like everybody knows Jokic is an offense first player, but he cannot really protect the rim at all. So you had guys like Rui and Lopez just completely taking advantage of Denver down low, but Denver obviously gets their threes. They have some great shooters, but that last play, I mean, I watched over and over. It was just really awkward looking. Like Denver just kind of didn't know what to do. I almost feel like if they had 2 less seconds, it might have worked better because Murray had like a little bit too much time to think about what he was going to do. So it was kind of an awkward amount of time to set up to get a shot. But you got to take the win, and this is the one none of us thought they would win. So it kind of set up the rest of the week nicely. But we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Champ, what are some of your thoughts?
Just quickly, this game right here showed the grit and the determination of this team to be able to grind out such a victory against the Western Conference team, especially a team the caliber of the Nuggets, and to be able to just stay within themselves. Again, yes, defense was again an issue, but the fact that they were able to have a little bit better shot selection and to be able to get what they could from the charity stripe, shooting 88% from the free throw line, was one of the key differences for them winning this basketball game. And so you got to think about that you're going out to the West Coast and you put a performance like this where you just grind it out, and boom, here's your victory right here. And you have to applaud that, the fact that they were able to grind out such a crucial victory in this game.
For sure. Brian, from the outsider's perspective, what are your thoughts? I mean, none of us on the panel thought we could win this game last week, but they found a way.
Yeah, I agree with what Tim said. This team has a lot of impressive wins. When you think about it, you've now got 2 wins against Denver, 2 wins against Brooklyn. You've got wins against the Lakers. You got wins against Portland. This team has beaten some very impressive teams. And, you've got to be very happy with that. They play up to their competition. That's something you'd like to see from teams like the Wizards. As far as the selection at the end goes for Denver and their shot selection, taking the 3 when they could have easily had 2 and sent the game to overtime, I don't really understand that either. Like everybody else has said, it felt all kind of like clunky and rushed and just kind of like put together from the Nuggets, which is something we don't really expect from them. They're such a good team. They made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. So we expect better from them. But yeah, this is definitely a good win for the Wizards, and it adds to, it's not like the NCAA tournament where you've got your certain resume and that gets you into the dance. But these wins are nice to have. Like some wins are definitely greater than others. This is one that you would like to have.
Right, I think that there are wins that you could build on and use as a way to say, hey, look, if we play defense in some key situations, it's kind of crazy that holding a team to 110 is good defense for the Wizards, but it is. Because they have the ability to score over 110 points almost every night. So the problem with the Wizards hasn't been the offense, it's been the defense. Now, there's been some games where some of the players haven't played great offensively, but ultimately it's always been coming down to stops. I mean, we'll talk about the Boston game in a few minutes, but we lost that game because of defense, not because of offense. There was an opportunity where you're up 5 points with less than a minute. You got to find a way to win that game, and so it's frustrating because I've been talking to lots of Wizards fans, and they want to tell me, this is the real Westbrook, and blah 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 blah. And I get that. Like, I think Westbrook isn't as bad as some of the haters say he is. And I don't think he's as good as some of the Westbrook lovers say he is. And he's got to continuously prove this. I think it's a great couple of weeks stretch, but we got to prove that the beginning of the season was the anomaly, not that this is the anomaly, right? So, like, if they regress next week, and next week's not a good example because we only have 2 games, but when they start having more games again, if they start to regress against bad teams, then it's like, well, maybe they just got lucky for a couple of weeks. But if they continue this play, they could find themselves into the 6th or 7th seed in the East. I think that they actually have a legit opportunity of that. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes going forward. Let me, just for timing purposes, let's just move on to the next game, which is the Timberwolves game, which is a game that we all predicted that they would win. So that was a good game overall. The Timberwolves started off outscoring the Wizards 29-27. The Wizards in the second outscored them 27-23. But the difference came in the third quarter. They put together a phenomenal third quarter. Outscored them 44-29, and then they basically kind of coasted in the fourth, and they ended up winning 128-112. And just a quick look at the box score. Towns played phenomenal as he usually does. I thought that the Wizards, the big people, obviously Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook getting another triple-double, 14, 12, and 9 this time. Bertans played great at moments, scoring 19 points. Garrison Matthews played well, had 18 points. They had a lot of scoring from throughout the team, and a good team victory. And this is the game, I believe, that Russell Westbrook breaks the record for having 10 triple-doubles in a season for the Wizards, which is the most ever in a single season. And he did it in only playing 24 games, I believe. So he's going to just destroy this record, I imagine. But the more important thing is we got the win. I try to tell Westbrook fans I care less about the triple-doubles and more about the team wins and playing good defense, and that's what you saw in this game. Brian, I'm going to start with you from the outsider's perspective. What is your take on this and Russell Westbrook's play as of late?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I didn't see this game, so I can't really comment too much on the win over the Timberwolves. I'm obviously glad they won. Minnesota's not very good. This is actually their 7th straight loss was because of this game to the Wizards. They're not good. They're not playing good this season, despite Karl Anthony Towns. So I think that's why we all expected to win this game. We all expected the Wizards to take care of business against Minnesota. As far as Westbrook goes, I feel like we were kind of shitting on him a little bit at the beginning of the season, but he actually has turned the corner, so to speak, I think, a lot. These last couple of games, you mentioned the triple-doubles he's had lately. In fact, he's already had 10 in just 24 games is really remarkable. I think he's actually doing a lot better. When he first got here, he was really struggling. I think I remember seeing a stat that said he had 163 points on just 163 shots, which is terrible. But since then, I feel like he's done a lot better. And he can be a big part of this team as they try and turn around and maybe make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens in the second half of the season. But Russell Westbrook, if they are going to go on a run here, Russell Westbrook's going to need to be a big part of it. And lately he has been playing a lot better.
Yeah, my issue, I guess, at this point with him is his defense and turnovers. When he can play good defense and not turn the ball over, they play much better. But Arun, what are your thoughts on Westbrook and then also on this game?
Westbrook, he started off pretty slow in this game. But because he was going up against Anthony Edwards, number one pick, and he was doing like dunking over Robin Lopez. And then I think as the game wore on, Westbrook picked it up, like kind of like the season, like he played better, not like amazing or anything. Like he's still like not an efficient scorer, but he did have like 12 assists pretty quickly and spreading the ball around. I think the key to the win though was Bradley Beal getting 17 points in the third quarter. He was the player of the game, and honorable mention to Garrison Matthews. He had 18 points on only 6 field goal attempts. So I think Westbrook, he's playing better. Let's see. I agree with he needs to keep it up, and it's still a long season. But this is the way Westbrook has been rolling throughout the last couple of seasons. He starts off slow with the Rockets, and then he plays amazing. Like he got All NBA last year. I don't think he deserved it necessarily, but he was on the All NBA third team. So hopefully he can keep it up for the rest of the season. But yeah, his defense has been not great at times, but it's been better than it was at the beginning of the year.
That's true. One interesting note is he did not make the All-Star reserves, so he's not going to be in the All-Star game since the first time since he was injured. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this game and Westbrook's play so far?
Well, yeah, I thought this was a classic. Minnesota is one of the few teams in the league that the Wizards can count on beating every time pretty easily, too. And Drew Gooden kept saying Wizards need to put this team away. They need to get an easy win tonight, focus on Boston. And they really did focus in the first half. And you saw they were only up by 2 or it was about tied. But that third quarter, they completely blew them out. Like Arun said, Beal took over. I think Westbrook actually had a triple-double by the end of the third quarter. And I saw a stat that Westbrook had 4 triple-doubles through 3 quarters than like any Wizard through 4 quarters ever, which is insane. So obviously he's been a little bit disappointing. But I do think the Wizards wouldn't have won such a bad start without Westbrook, but they also wouldn't have gotten without him, because I think his leadership and the way that he pushes players in practice, and he basically did Scott Brooks' job, force the role players to say, identify, and stick to their roles. That's really key. Like that's valuable. And John Wall could have probably done that too, but the jury's still out for me with this trade in Westbrook. Like I'm not sold either way. I don't know. I still don't know if it's a good trade. I like what I see now, but yeah, like he's got to keep it up. I don't think he's proven one thing either way, really, to me.
Yeah, for me, he hasn't either, and I just think that the vision is see if he can keep this up for the full season. I'll ask Champ, do you think he'll keep this up for the full season, or do you think that this was a good stretch for Westbrook?
It's kind of hard to say, especially with the way that this season is going with the current pandemic going on and how they just recently announced the second half of the season and the second half schedule. So it's kind of hard to say if Westbrook can keep the same output in terms of this past stretch of games averaging a triple-double. You can't really pinpoint that. Also, you have to take into account the fact that at the start of the season, they said that, Westbrook will sit on a lot of these back-to-backs. And I'm sure that, and I got to look back at the second half of the schedule to see how many back-to-backs we have. So there's going to be a lot of games where he's going to sit out because of back-to-back and everything like that.
I wonder if that's still going to happen. I'll be honest, because part of me thinks that maybe he was injured and that was a way that they were going to cover for him. But like the last 3 or 4 back-to-backs, he's played both of them.
You're right. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Though, I mean, Scott Brooks said this at the beginning of the season, so who knows?
But he could have
you're
already
right.
hurt, I think.
You're right. He might still play back to backs. So putting that into perspective and putting that into this, I still can't say whether Westbrook and this output that he's putting out this last stretch of games is going to continue on throughout the season. I just can't predict that. And if anybody wants to call me a hater, like they've been calling you a hater, Robbie, that's fine. I want all the smoke. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people think that I'm a hater for not just like bowing down to Westbrook and saying he's the greatest and he's the best point guard to ever play for the Wizards. And I mean, he might be a Hall of Famer, you know, probably is, and he'll probably be.
Might be, dude. Russell Westbrook is a first ballot slam dunk Hall of Famer.
Right, but but I don't know if he would be as a Wizard, right? I mean, he would be as a.
I mean, sure. If you just take this one stretch of games, then no, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Do you think he's the best point guard to ever be on the Wizards?
I don't know if I can go that far, but
right. See, that's what they're already trying to claim.
Yeah,
that's
might be
a tough one, right? I mean, you're already
win a playoff game with franchise, I think.
Right.
Just want to like to have a word, please.
Yeah, exactly. And I would like.
But there's no question he's a Hall of Famer. There's no question he's one of the
right, but he's a Hall of Famer for what he's already done before he was a Wizard.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily because. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Probably.
I don't know if he's better than Wall. I don't know if you can claim that he's even better than Gilbert until he like wins a playoff series. I don't care how many triple doubles he gets. Like that doesn't, to me, it doesn't mean you're the best point guard. Like it's a cool stat, but it's not for me. It's not the stat. It's are you a winner? And he was a winner. He got teams to conference finals and played very well in a lot of those seasons and has been an MVP in the league, right? And so, I'm not saying that he hasn't been, but the fact is that he's not even making the All-Star game this season. How could you claim that he's better than John Wall over John Wall's career as a Wizard, right? So I don't see it yet. I mean, if he gets to the playoffs with this team, with this slow start, they end up winning, the first round in the playoffs, then I think maybe we can have a conversation. So it's going to be tough for me. But let's, for timing purposes again, we're kind of running out of time. Let's get into this Celtics game. This one's rough because we didn't really think we were going to win this one, and we really had an opportunity here. Bradley Beal once again scores over 40 points, 46. And now I believe it's 11 in a row that he's lost when he scored over 40. And Boston came out strong, 33-28 to start. It was even in the second. Both teams scored 27. In the third, the Wizards outscored Boston 21-19. The Wizards actually outscored Boston in the fourth 34-32 and had a 5-point lead in the final minute of the game. But Boston, again, this came down to defense. They just let easy scoring happen, and Boston was able to come away with this victory. Arun, give me your quick thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think maybe when you guys made the prediction, you guys know that Jaylen Brown, the Celtics, I mean, he's been better than Jason Tatum has this year, probably because Tatum has had COVID and he's had shortness of breath. But I think this was a very winnable game for the Wizards. Also, Marcus Smart, he's still out. Kemba Walker, he looked great in the fourth quarter, but that probably had more to do with the Wizards' defense. I just think the Wizards, like a couple of the role players like Denny, Bonga, Wagner, they didn't have good games, but Bradley Beal did enough to like pretty much cement this game. And Robbie, you pointed out defense wasn't really that good down the stretch of this game. The final possession, they had Bradley Beal covering Jason Tatum, bad decision by Scott Brooks or Bradley Beal. They probably should put Bonga on him. Rui Hachimura did not have a good contest on the final play of the game, the final Celtic game winner. And of course, Bradley Beal falling down out of bounds. I think it's on Scott Brooks again for not calling timeout on that play, especially when the trap happened. He should have run out on the floor and call timeout. The final possession was ugly, double team. Bradley Beal probably should have shot it actually earlier because it would have been a chance for a second chance rebound. One of his teammates should have cut to the rim. But not a good final inbound ball by Brooks to let Beal take the winner without. Boston did the right thing by taking the ball out of Beal's hands. Tough loss. The Wizards have had good wins, like the Brooklyn win, miraculous win. So these things kind of even out through the course of the year. And it was a back-to-back game, but still a disappointing loss with the Celtics again without Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. I'm going to give you guys each, give your shortest synopsis of this. I do want to talk about the two games that are this week as well and try to get this all in here. Tim, your quick thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, Arun pretty much said it all. I don't want to focus on this game too much because it's a heartbreaker, but you have to call a timeout so that Beal doesn't turn the ball over. Also, the ball boy should be fired. He didn't wipe the sweat off that particular spot on the floor where Brad Beal tripped. So you got to blame him a little bit, whoever that kid is. And yeah, I read a comment on the game article, which made a lot of sense to me, even though it was a joke. Like on the very last play where Beal missed the shot where he was double teamed, it really did look like Scott Brooks didn't call any play. Like they just sort of winged it and it worked out terribly. So congrats to Scott Brooks, though. Shocking to all the Vegas bettors. He was not the first coach fired. The Atlanta Hawks fired their coach today. Nate McMillan is a head coach again, which is kind of a nice story. But Scott Brooks survives. So good for him.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm at the point where you give him the rest of this season to see what he can do, but unless he gets himself out of the first round of the playoffs, which I doubt at this point he will, I think he's got to go. Brian, your quick thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, the Celtics have been kind of struggling a bit. So, they didn't have Brown, who, like Arun said, has been arguably their best player all season. So I thought they might win this game. And then just a series of tough breaks. You mentioned Beal slipping out of bounds. And, you're right. It didn't really seem like there was a lot of organization on the last play. It didn't seem like there was a real play design. So, they may rue the day that they let this one slip away. They might regret letting this game slip out of their hands. This was the tough loss for sure to the Celtics.
And Champ, your quick thoughts?
Robbie, you said it in our group chat on the night of the game. Shot selection sucked. The fact that, and let me look at this, they went 28% from three-point range to tell you that their shot selection was absolutely atrocious. Like, you're going up there and chucking up three-pointers and not making them. Like, if you're going to chuck up three-pointers, at least make them. This game should have not been as close as it was if they were, and again, I'm going back to what you said, Robbie, in the group chat, if they were driving the lane and going for those shots instead of trying to take shots from beyond the arc. This was another game where the Wizards actually played pretty decent defense, but because they were taking such unnecessary shots, this is why they lost the game. Because of the shot selection and not because of defense.
Yeah, I agree. Way too many chucking of threes. Yeah, they were doing so well when they were driving to the basket, and it's so frustrating at the end of the game. Just like they should have been able to call better plays or just get into the hands. They should have been able to drive and free throws. I don't know. Shot selection was very questionable throughout the game, but especially in the first quarter and at the very end, which are arguably the two parts that I thought if they could have given themselves a little bit more of a lead early on, maybe they have a bit of a bigger lead and it doesn't let them slip away. All right, these upcoming games, there's a game against the Grizzlies and against the Clippers. The first one against the Grizzlies is tomorrow at 7. Then the Clippers, they have an opportunity to get revenge for one of the big losses from last week. And that one's on Thursday at 7. And then they go on their hiatus for the All-Star break, and then they won't play again until the following Wednesday. I'll let each one of you guys pick one of the two games and give your thoughts on it. And I'm going to start off with Arun. Which game do you want?
I'll talk about the Clippers. Hopefully, the Wizards, they did play really well in that third quarter. They just need to figure some things out. They need to play better against the Clippers bench. Rodney McGruger, he exposed Bradley Beal in the fourth quarter. He had like 9 points in the first couple minutes of that fourth quarter because he got. So Brooks needs to go to his bench and play Troy Brown Jr. or Bonga or somebody to see if he can get something, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds good. All right, Tim, your pick between the Grizzlies and the Clippers game. Which one do you want to talk about?
I'll talk about the Grizzlies. I mean, it's not a team that is on national TV a lot, despite having John Morant. But looks like they're having a decent year. They're about 500, so this definitely won't be an easy game. But I do pick the Wizards in this one, just because A, it's in DC, and B, I think they're gonna take out some of the anger from that crushing Boston loss on Memphis. So I think this is really a game that it's not a must win, but it's one the Wizards really need to have because you don't want to go 0-2 this weekend. The Clippers game is going to be really tough.
Brian, which game would you like to talk about?
Yeah, I'll just back up everything Tim said because I agree with it on the Grizzlies game. I think that's definitely the more winnable of the two games. I think the Clippers game is going to be really tough, but we've seen the way this team has been playing lately. They're playing some good ball, and they're beating teams that they should beat. And I feel like Memphis on your home floor is a game you should win. So I think the Wizards are going to win tomorrow night against the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies are a good team in the West, but I think this is a game, on your home floor. The way the Wizards are playing right now, I think all signs point to a win in that one.
All right, and then Champ, what are your thoughts?
I think the Wiz go 2-0 here. I think they beat the Grizzlies, and I think they get revenge on the Clippers. And ride that momentum of having only lost once in the last couple of weeks into the All-Star break, and then they come out of the All-Star break and they start to really find themselves and realize who they are as a team and start to really drive themselves up the rankings in the Eastern Conference. So Grizzlies, yeah, their record is not very good. And the one guy that they have on the team that can score, Ja Morant, only scores under 20 points per game. So that's a winnable game. But it seems like the Wizards tend to play down to the competition. So hopefully they don't do that. They don't play down to the Grizzlies, and they absolutely just run through them. And then they get the Clippers at home, and they go through the Clippers and say, hey, y'all are in our house now. You have to answer to us. So I think the Wiz go 2-0 to go into the All-Star break and really build momentum going into the second half of the season.
Sounds good. All right, Arun, what are your thoughts on the weekly record?
I'm gonna go 1-1. The problem, they don't seem to be. Are they a consistent team? It's hard to say. And as Tim said, the Grizzlies are playing better. Wizards could lose that game, but maybe they could upset the Clippers. I'm just gonna say they're gonna split those games.
And Tim, what are your thoughts on the record overall?
Yeah, I'm gonna say split. I love the confidence of 2-0, but I can't go there.
Yeah, and Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going 1-1. I think they beat Memphis tomorrow, but lose the Clippers.
Yeah, I also think it's going to be 1-1. All right, well, that's great. We got through all of that. We'll break down both of those games next week. We'll also talk maybe a little bit of the All-Star game, but I'm not going to guarantee that because I'm not sure I'm going to watch it. We'll see. Because my favorite part of All-Star Weekend is like the dunks and the three-point shooting and all that sort of stuff, which they're not even doing, right? So
no, they are doing that this year, but it's going to be, I think the dunk contest is at halftime, and I think the three-point contest is at maybe the start of the game, but they are doing it this year.
Yeah, there's a wrestling pay-per-view taking place on that night, so I will not be watching it. All right.
Arun, do you know anything about the schedule at all?
They're gonna do some of the festivities of like halftime, apparently, like 3-point shootout with fewer contestants.
Interesting.
Obi Toppin's in the dunk contest. Thanks.
Yes, he is. Good. Thanks for pointing that out, Tim. Yes, he is.
I think they only have three contestants.
Interesting. Well, I'm happy that they're having it because without that, I don't think I'd care at all. So I might tune in just for that. All right. I'm gonna let everyone give their final thoughts, and then I'll get Carol back on, and we'll wrap this up. Both segments went much longer than I expected, but lots of games, lots of wins, a lot to celebrate. Tim, I'll let you be the first to give your final thoughts. Do you have any final things you want to say?
Yeah, just had a lot of fun tonight. I think these weekly segments are a lot more fun with the Wizards playing competitive basketball, and we have some more optimistic stuff to talk about. So anyway, let's hope the trend continues and we play good basketball after the All-Star break.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Tim. We'll talk to you
Thank
next week.
Thanks.
All right, Arun, I'm gonna let you give your final thoughts before we let you go.
Yeah, I guess I would say Westbrook isn't even the top 4 point guard of Washington all time. You got Earl Monroe, you got Wall, Gilbert Arenas. I would even take hot dog eating Rod Strickland during the game over him. And the Washington football team, shout out to them for getting. I guess like it's rumored that Alex Smith is leaving town. I can't remember the last time a comeback player of the year left the team. I think it might be the first time in NFL history. So Washington football team making good things happen every day. That's it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Arun, for joining us as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, later.
All right, Brian. I like that you're doing your shows on Friday now, so
Thank you.
People should tune in to that. Again, podcast partners button on sportsothb.com, or you can search for Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan on all different podcast platforms. I really enjoyed your segments the last couple of weeks with the Ask Brian, and I like how you recap all the different sports stuff. So anything on the agenda for this week?
I'm planning for Friday's episode of Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan. I talked to my friend Charlie, he might be on, so I might be interviewing him. So stay tuned for that. And we might do another Ask Brian because, like you said, the Ask Brian segment is becoming really popular. Like it's people are actually, starting to come up with questions for me outside of when I'm doing it. So I might do another one. So I have a solid list of questions that I can do for last time. But yeah, like you said, check out the podcast wherever podcasts are available. And plenty more content on the way. It's been a lot of fun, and stay tuned for episode 33 of Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan this Friday.
Thank you so much, Brian. We'll talk to you next week.
No problem, Robbie. Thank you.
All right, Champ, let people know what's happening on the No Spots podcast.
Oh, man, listen. In New Japan Pro Wrestling, they just announced that they're unifying the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championships, and the New Japan Cup is starting this Thursday. So this coming Wednesday on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, myself and Sage will preview the New Japan Cup and give you our predictions for that, as well as on the regular podcast, we will talk about Revolution for AEW, which is coming up this Sunday. We got a lot coming for you guys this week in terms of wrestling. So just rock with us. You know what I'm saying? Rock with us.
Sounds good. We appreciate you as always, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Champ, take it easy.
All right, Carol. I know we planned it for an hour and a half show, and both segments ran 15 minutes long, but they were great segments, and we also got a little bit of Washington football team talk in there as well. My wife is calling me to let me know this is over, but I'll let you do a quick little wrap up, and then everyone should stay tuned to sportsothb.com, as all of our win recap videos and all of our podcast stuff and merch and more. And Carol, your final thoughts?
As always, appreciate y'all tuning in, checking us out. Like I said, Robbie's been putting out some great content with the Capitals and Wizards. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Like he said, you can check out my YouTube channel or continue to follow the Sports OTHP page and check out Robbie. We love all the folks checking us out. Stay tuned. You know, football season, you know, just ended, but the off season about to start. Once I get out of restriction on streaming on my page or whenever that might happen, you know, me and Dujanay is going to break down all the off-season stuff, you know, with the quarterback situation, the salary cap, pending free agents, draft, all of that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you check out Sports OTHP for the apparel, rocking the burgundy and gold. Robbie got the District of Champions pillow in the back. I got the backdrop.
We also got the classic hoodie. You've got the Washington football team color hoodie. We got it all going on.
Yeah, so make sure y'all check it out. Appreciate all the support, you know, all the love and appreciation. If you're looking for a new used or pre-owned certified vehicle, you know, to holler at me down at Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway. Hit me up, inbox me, or come on down. Make sure you check me out on At the Bar Radio Sundays, 6 p.m. Excuse me, we're talking politics, current events, independent music, interview guests, and it's At the Bar Radio, so it's a little bit different from Sports on the Hill podcast. Check it out. Streaming live on YouTube and Periscope. Other than that, you know, I'm going to end the show as always with network affiliate Renegade 703. Make sure you go follow him. Streaming on all platforms. Money Convo, and you know how we do. CP3, RobbieG, Sports OTHP. We out. DC Sports out of politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do.
Money. Money. I love that money. Lucas. Money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. You don't really want to play. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. It's money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't want to be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. Money, 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 make you shut him off. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say, stay up out of my way. Cause money, 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 make me shut him off. Keep playing with these goonies, boy, I'm gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. Cause a lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming, oh my God, money got me pride. They living a lie, look into my eyes, they may seem surprised. This is homicide. We just multiply. We been on the rise. If we got some wings, fuck it, we gon' have to fly. Money, 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 what I'm talking about. Day in my life, take me a different route. And use all my case, niggas on my face. You can get erased, what you talking about? Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. You never crossing these borders. I'm whipping it up, Gordon Ramsay. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. You talk about me, you better just hope that you can just really afford it. I'm ballin', I'm winning, I'm feeling like Robert to Horry. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about me, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign. So independent, my money be corporate. These rappers is boring. You hate me and I'm always gonna adore it. I'm smoking that soaring. She always go ahead and let me explore it. I call her my Dora. You can go and talk about me, I ain't flawless. I go put my all in. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm gone in. You know that I'm gone in. Jump in, take trips, Pompeii. All day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, man. And you can never, ever get rid of that. So watch what you say, and watch how you do. If you play the game, then you play by the rules. Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about.
Don't get this motherfucker right. Right.
If you ain't a boss, switch your position. They hating me on the low. I cannot listen. I pack your bag if you trippin'. I got me your superstition that you been looking for ways. Get me up off this mission. My grandma told me, boy, watch what you pitching. You stay safe at the base and not what you whipping. They just all in my business. Scotty knows just what a pippin'. Flow like I be rapping. Tiptoeing J's when I'm riffing. They say I be hot, but I think I'm sizzling. Surgically put on the clinic. Spit it out just to a dentist. Try to do me some good, but they say I'm